Chapter 4600. Initially, the servants did not really understand the second young madam's temper. Now that they saw how the second young madam was seriously and skillfully making medicinal cuisine for the madam and how amiable she was towards them, they were relieved. At the very least, the second young madam was not a difficult person to serve. As Bailey Hongzhuang prepared one medicinal cuisine after another, a rich aroma filled the air. Everyone could not help but have a great appetite when they smelled the aroma. The second young madam's culinary skills are extraordinary. This medicinal cuisine looks, smells great. If we hadn't seen her putting the herbs in with our own eyes, how could we believe that this was a medicinal cuisine? The second young madam who has returned from outside is indeed different from the other young ladies from aristocratic families. How could the other young ladies from aristocratic families know how to cook? It's great that the second young master has returned, but the second young master and second young madam are both from the lower realm. They can't be compared to the disciples from the other aristocratic families. Some of the servants could not help but sigh. They knew very well about the competition between aristocratic families. Even though the elders rarely made a move, the competition between the younger generation had never been rare. There would be a competition almost every once in a while. The results also represented each person's reputation. Now that the second young master had returned, the news would definitely spread very quickly. By then, many people would want to test the second young master's standards. If the second young master's power was far inferior to others, he would probably be laughed at. There's nothing we can do about that. The second young master has just returned, so it's normal for his cultivation to be inferior to theirs. If they had stayed in the lower realm, they might not even be as good as our second young master. Of course, that's what we think, but they might not think the same. All in all, this matter is more troublesome. I heard that the second young master has the heavenly mandate constitution. Perhaps his cultivation will catch up after a while. Bailey Hongzhuang, who was preparing the medicinal cuisine, overheard the whispers. She sighed to herself. The situation was indeed as they had expected. The challenge that Beichen had to face after his return was not small. However, she believed that they would be able to face whatever the situation was. Even if they were looked down upon by others, it was not a big deal. It was not as if they had not experienced this before. As long as they worked hard, there was a chance for them to surpass others. After Bailey Hongzhuang finished preparing the medicinal cuisine, the servants followed her to Lin Yinqing's residence. As soon as they arrived, Bailey Hongzhuang discovered that Di Beichen and Di Xiaofeng were both in the courtyard. "Why are you here?" Bailey Hongzhuang smiled at the two of them, obviously not expecting them to come out at this time. "We want to see how mother's mother," said Di Beichen's, Di's, Li's. "Is mother S's mother, young master S's mother's condition is gradually improving. Her mental state is a lot better today. If this continues, you will be able to see her in 2 days." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. As soon as these words came out, Di Beichen's eyes lit up. Until now, he still didn't know what his mother looked like. However, Di Xiaofeng's attention was completely attracted by the food behind Bailey Hongzhuang. "This food smells so good. Why haven't I eaten these dishes before?" Chapter 4601. Hearing Di Xiaofeng's words, Di Beichen's attention was also on the food. The rich aroma was indeed very appetizing. Just looking at it made people drool. "This is the medicinal cuisine I prepared for mother." Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. "Mother drinks medicine every day and is very resistant to medicine. I made it into a medicinal cuisine. I think mother will like it." Perhaps she didn't need to be so meticulous with other patients, but Lin Yinqing had a mental illness. What she needed the most now was to make herself happy. As long as she was in a good mood, many problems would be easily solved. Moreover, she was Di Beichen's mother. She naturally had to take care of her. Sister-in-law made it herself. Di Xiaofeng was surprised. He then looked at Di Baichen enviously. Second brother, you're really lucky. Sister-in-law's cooking is also so good. Di Baichen looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with bright eyes. In the past, he rarely ate the food prepared by Bailey Hongzhuang. In fact, they spent more time on cultivation and didn't have much time to be together. I'll take this medicinal cuisine in first. I hope mother can eat more. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Sister-in-law, why don't I go in with you? I'll chat with mother. Di Xiaofeng's face was full of joy. Isn't mother lonely eating alone? She'll be in a better mood with me. Big brother, your real purpose shouldn't be this, right? Di Baichen looked at Di Xiaofeng and directly exposed his cover. Di Xiaofeng chuckled. I'll take this opportunity to try sister-in-law's cooking. Sister-in-law is already yours. No one can take her away. I'm just trying sister-in-law's cooking. You don't have to hide it, right? Di Xiaofeng raised his eyebrows. Di Baichen felt helpless. His big brother wasn't much older than him. Adding on his personality, he was really helpless. Big brother is right. It is indeed boring for mother to eat alone. With you accompanying her, mother's mood will definitely be better. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curved into an elegant and charming smile. Right now, her mother's biggest concern was Di Xiaofeng. With Di Xiaofeng by her side, her mother would definitely be very happy. Then let's go in. Di Xiaofeng nodded and said to Baichen, Baichen, I'll have to trouble you to stay outside for now. After 2 days, we'll go in together. All right. As Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Xiaofeng approached, Dr. Wu also walked over. He had always been curious about what kind of medicinal cuisine Bailey Hongzhuang had prepared. When he saw Bailey Hongzhuang approaching, he immediately looked over. When he saw the delicious meal, his eyes were filled with surprise. Second young madam, did you mix those herbs into the food? At first glance, he could tell that the food tasted very good. It moved his taste buds. Even though he was used to eating delicacies, he couldn't help but want to move his chopsticks. The most important thing was that he didn't smell any medicinal herbs in the food. How did Bailey Hongzhuang do it? Yes. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and nodded. I don't plan to tell madam that this is a medicinal cuisine. Maybe it will be better. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's affirmation, Dr. Wu sighed in his heart. With second young madam, there's really no need to worry about madam's illness. Chapter 4602. Lin Yinqing woke up after smelling a strong fragrance. When she opened her eyes, she found Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Xiaofeng were both there. It smells so good. Hearing Lin Yinqing's movements, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but turn around with smiles on their faces. Mother, you're awake. Lin Yinqing nodded slightly. Xiaofeng, don't run outside this time. Yes. Di Xiaofeng smiled. I'll stay in the family this time to accompany mother. By the way, Yingying prepared a lot of delicious food for you. Come and try it. Di Xiaofeng looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Before, Bailey Hongzhuang had already told him that for convenience, she directly used Bailey Hongzhuang's name in front of Lin Yinqing. After all, Lin Yinqing already knew Bailey Hongzhuang's name from Di Yujue. If it was her real name, she would have known it long ago. Hearing this, Lin Yinqing looked at the delicious dishes on the table and a look of surprise appeared on her face. These were all made by Ying. Isn't that so? You've tasted our family's chef's cooking. One look and you can tell it's not their cooking. Indeed. Lin Yinqing smiled faintly. When she looked at Bailey Hongzhuang again, her gaze became gentler. Ying, thank you so much. She had never seen such a considerate girl who cared so much about her. This was a kind of concern from the bottom of her heart. She could feel it. It was really hard to imagine that such a young girl would care so much about someone like her who had one foot in the coffin. Originally, she didn't have any expectations of living, but ever since Bailey Hongzhuang appeared, she felt that her condition was much better. There was a big difference from usual. "Madam, you're too polite." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. Right now, her biggest wish was for Lin Yinqing's condition to gradually improve. For this, she was willing to do anything. "Mother, come and try Ying's cooking." Di Xiaofeng smiled. "Yes, it won't be good if the food gets cold." Okay. Lin Yinqing smiled and sat down at the table with Bailey Hongzhuang's help. "Ying, come and eat with us." Lin Yinqing gently called out. "Madam, you guys eat." Bailey Hongzhuang said. Lin Yinqing's expression turned serious. "These dishes were all prepared by you. Naturally, we have to eat them together. Otherwise, I would feel embarrassed to eat them. Ying, mother is right, sit down and eat with us." There was a faint smile in Di Xiaofeng's eyes. Based on his understanding of his mother, he could tell that she liked Hongzhuang very much from her behavior. If mother knew her daughter-in-law, she would be even happier. However, Di Xiaofeng's happy expression had another meaning in Lin Yinqing's eyes. When she heard that Bailey Hongzhuang was brought back by Di Xiaofeng, she found it very strange. After all, Di Xiaofeng had never brought back a woman in all these years. Now that Di Xiaofeng was at the age to get married, and Bailey Hongzhuang was a rare beauty, maybe the two of them were in love with each other. If Bailey Hongzhuang could become her daughter-in-law, that would be great. Let me try this dish and see if it's really delicious. Di Xiaofeng chuckled and immediately put a piece of fish into his mouth. In the next second, Di Xiaofeng's eyes widened and he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. Chapter 4603. In fact, she hadn't cooked for a long time. Although she had a certain amount of confidence in her cooking skills, she couldn't guarantee that the taste would be the same as before. Di Xiaofeng stared at Bailey Hongzhuang, then gave her a thumbs up and nodded, "It's really delicious." Seeing Di Xiaofeng's expression, the smile in Lin Yinqing's eyes gradually deepened. It seemed that Xiaofeng really liked Ying. She knew that her son had always been very picky when it came to food. It wasn't easy to get him to praise it. However, it was so exaggerated now. If he didn't like it, she wouldn't believe it at all. In the next second, Lin Yinqing also took a bite. Then, her gaze also changed. "Auntie, is this food to your liking?" Bailey Hongzhuang asked with a smile. Lin Yinqing's face was full of surprise. She originally thought that everything Di Xiaofeng had said was just to make Bailey Hongzhuang happy. Now that she had tasted it, she realized that everything Di Xiaofeng had said was true. It was so delicious. Even the Di family's chef definitely couldn't make it. It was so delicious that she almost wanted to bite her tongue off. "Ying, I didn't expect your cooking skills to be so good. This is the first time I've eaten such delicious food." Lin Yinqing said bluntly. She had lived for so many years, and it was indeed the first time she had eaten such delicious food. Di Xiaofeng nodded, "It's really delicious." As he spoke, Di Xiaofeng's chopsticks didn't stop moving. From his performance, it could be seen how delicious the food was. Seeing Di Xiaofeng and Lin Yinqing's appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also revealed a deep smile of joy. "As long as you like it." Xiao He also felt a little hungry after seeing Di Xiaofeng eating heartily. It hadn't eaten much of its master's food before. It really wanted to try it. "Master, this is a medicinal cuisine. Is it okay for Di Xiaofeng to eat like this?" Xiao He couldn't help but ask. "It's okay." Bailey Hongzhuang replied, "These herbs are used to nourish. With these ingredients, the effect is relatively mild. Anyone can eat it." Dr. Wu was originally very curious about the taste of Bailey Hongzhuang's dishes. At this moment, hearing Di Xiaofeng and Lin Yinqing's praises, the curiosity in his heart couldn't help but grow stronger. "Madam, young master. Dr. Wu slowly walked in, his eyes quietly fell on the medicinal cuisine. Bailey Hongzhuang. Lin Yunqing also extended an invitation. During this period of time, Dr. Wu had also spent a lot of energy on her illness. He basically stayed in her courtyard all day long. In fact, she was very clear in her heart that Dr. Wu had always wanted to make her a medical examiner, but she didn't cooperate. Chapter 4604. After Dr. Wu tasted it, his reaction wasn't any better than Di Xiaofeng's. It's so delicious. This is the first time I've tasted it. I can't feel the medicinal herbs inside at all. It's as if it has completely merged with the ingredients. Dr. Wu exclaimed, second. Miss Ying, your culinary skills are really amazing. Seeing that Dr. Wu almost spilled the beans, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Xiaofeng were both stunned. Fortunately, Dr. Wu reacted quickly and immediately covered it up. Lin Yunqing also had some doubts when she heard Dr. Wu's words, but she didn't take it to heart. Instead, she asked, "This is medicinal cuisine?" "Madam, Miss Ying knows that you've been drinking medicine these days and must be very repulsed by it, so she thought of a way to make this medicinal cuisine." Dr. Wu explained. Hearing this, the surprise in Lin Yunqing's eyes deepened. She was already very surprised when she knew that Bailey Hongzhuang specially prepared this meal for her. She didn't expect that there was such a reason behind it and couldn't help but feel even more touched. "Ying, thank you so much." At this moment, she really didn't know what to say to express her gratitude and love. "Madam, you're too polite." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled, "If you really want to thank me, then relax and get better quickly." Di Xiaofeng also said, "That's right, mother. You still have a lot of things to do. You must get better." Hearing this, Lin Yunqing's gaze wandered between Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Hongzhuang for a moment. She was already thinking of other things in her mind. "Okay." Lin Yunqing nodded. Although she still felt very guilty towards Di Beichen, she also knew that she didn't care much for Di Xiaofeng all these years. Perhaps she could accompany Beichen later. At the very least, she had to insist on seeing Xiaofeng's wedding. Fortunately, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen didn't know what Lin Yunqing was thinking at this moment. Otherwise, they would definitely be embarrassed. This was too messy. Very quickly, the dishes were all swept away, leaving behind the clean plates that couldn't be any cleaner. Di Xiaofeng rubbed his stomach with satisfaction. Today's meal was really satisfying. Although Dr. Wu didn't speak, his satisfied expression made it clear what he was thinking. Di Beichen had been standing in the courtyard waiting for Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Hongzhuang to come out. When he saw the two figures, he couldn't help but smile and ask, "How does it taste?" "Second brother, you've really married a treasure." Emperor Xiaofeng sighed. "Sister-in-law's culinary skills are really too good. Compared to her, I feel that the so-called delicacies I've eaten before are simply dregs." "Big brother, you flatter me." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and shook her head. However, Di Xiaofeng's expression was serious. "Sister-in-law, I'm not praising you on purpose. Everything I said is true." While they were talking, another group of distinguished guests arrived at the Di family. As soon as Lin Wenlan arrived at the Di family, she hurriedly walked inside. The cultivators of the Di family all knew that she was the family head's in-law, so how could they dare to neglect her? In fact, they did not even dare to stop them, and allowed Lin Wenlan and the others to directly rush in. Immediately, they could only hurriedly inform the family head. Di Yujue rushed over as soon as he heard the news. When Lin Wenlan saw Di Yujue, the anger in her heart rushed up. Chapter 4605. Lin Wenlan only had one precious daughter, Lin Yunqing. He had treated her like the apple of his eye since she was young. Back then, there had been so many talented young men who had pursued Lin Yunqing, but he had not taken a fancy to any of them. He felt that it would be a loss for his precious daughter to marry anyone. In the end, Di Yujue and Lin Yunqing were in love with each other, so he had agreed. Although he had agreed, he did not have a good impression of this stinking brat. After all, he had kidnapped his precious daughter. Fortunately, Di Yujue was also an outstanding genius and was very sincere to Yunqing, so he had agreed. Initially, after Di Xiaofeng and Di Beichen had been born one after the other, he had gradually found this son-in-law pleasing to the eye. However, he never thought that this stupid son-in-law would actually lose his precious grandson. Such a bizarre thing had actually happened. When he had first heard about it, he had not dared to believe it at all. However, it was all true and he was about to die from anger. Ever since this incident had happened, everyone had fallen into torment. Ever since Lin Yunqing had been born, he had not been willing to let his precious daughter shed a single tear. However, Yunqing had washed her face with tears every day and he could not do anything about it. Needless to say, he was very depressed. Not long ago, he had found out that this stupid son-in-law had finally found traces of his grandson. However, before he could rejoice for a moment, he had found out that his precious grandson had fallen and the culprit was the Di family's housekeeper. When he had found out about this, he had almost died from anger. Most importantly, his daughter had fallen ill because of this grievous news and her days were numbered. His heartache could not be expressed in words. If he had known this earlier, he would never have married Lin Yunqing to Di Yujue. Unfortunately, things had already come to this point. Even if he regretted it, it was useless. Yunqing's condition has improved slightly. If it had been anyone else who had scolded Di Yujue as a stinking brat, he would have crippled that person immediately. However, the person who had scolded him was his father-in-law, so Di Yujue could only obediently accept the scolding. In fact, in these years, every time he saw Lin Wenlan, he would inevitably be scolded. Improved? Lin Wenlan scoffed coldly, "It's all your fault. If it had not been for you, how could Yunqing have ended up like this?" When he thought of the suffering his daughter had suffered all these years, he really wanted to hit her. However, he also knew that although Yunqing had been suffering because of Beichen, she had always had Di Yujue in her heart. Previously, everyone had seen her feelings for Di Yujue. If that wasn't the case, Lin Yunqing wouldn't have kept rejecting his offer to bring Lin Yunqing back. Father-in-law, Yunqing's condition is gradually improving. I believe she will recover in a few days. Di Yujue hurriedly said. Recover? Lin Wenlan was furious. You've already sent back news that Yunqing can't hold on any longer. Even Dr. Wu has tried everything, but it's useless. Do you think I'll believe what you're telling me now? It's useless to say more unless you can find Beichen and bring him back. But now, it's meaningless. If Yunqing really dies because of this, I won't let you off. Old Master, Yunishan could not help but speak up to dissuade Lin Wenlan when she saw him scolding Di Yujue non-stop. Her old man had always been like this. As long as he had anything to do with Yunqing, he would become like this. Chapter 4606. After listening to Yunishan's words, Lin Wenlan's tone became slightly more restrained. However, he really couldn't take this lying down. He only had one precious daughter. If something happened to her, what should he do? He had been so anxious and worried all the way here. Since things have come to this, don't blame Yujue anymore. He didn't want this to happen. Yunishan sighed. She felt helpless and distressed about this matter. However, she knew that Yujue didn't want this to happen. Moreover, didn't they find out that it was all a conspiracy? This proved that Di Yujue didn't end up like this because he was careless, but because he was set up by someone. Father-in-law, mother-in-law, actually, Di Yujue was about to explain to them that Beichen was back and all the problems were solved. However, Lin Wenlan was obviously not interested in listening to him and said directly, "Let's go and see Yunqing first." Di Beichen and Di Xiaofeng walked outside after leaving Lin Yinqing's courtyard. They came back in a hurry yesterday. In addition, his grandfather and grandmother put all their attention on Di Beichen. He didn't even have a chance to have a good chat with his father. He should take this opportunity to go over. However, halfway through the journey, Di Beichen found that Di Yuju was being scolded by an elder. He didn't even have the slightest chance to talk back. Moreover, he had to wear a smile on his face. Given Di Yuju's status, it was simply impossible for something like this to happen. This is. Di Beichen looked at the scene in front of him in astonishment. He thought of the elder's identity. Di Xiaofeng also sighed after noticing this scene. Second brother, now that you've seen it with your own eyes, you know that I didn't lie to you before, right? All these years, grandfather and maternal grandfather have been like this every time they see father. Thinking about it, it's not easy for father. Di Xiaofeng knew his maternal grandfather very well. His maternal grandfather's love for his mother had reached the level of insanity. Therefore, one could imagine the pressure his father had to bear. Hearing this, Di Beichen also knew that his guess was right. The elder in front of him was his maternal grandfather. However, when he heard Di Xiaofeng mention it to him, he didn't directly feel it. Now that he saw it with his own eyes, he couldn't help but be stunned. Di Yujue was really helpless. His explanation was abruptly interrupted by his father-in-law. He simply didn't say anything. His father-in-law would naturally figure everything out later. Grandfather, grandmother, you're here. Di Xiaofeng's face revealed a happy smile. He immediately pulled Di Beichen's hands quickly. After seeing Di Xiaofeng, a smile suddenly appeared on Lin Wenlan's face. That loving look was a completely different person from her previous serious look. Xiaofeng, you're back too. Di Xiaofeng replied, I came back not long ago. Lin Wenlan nodded slightly. With such a big thing happening at home, you should indeed come back. Your mother's health isn't good now. If you have time, spend more time with her and let her relax. Yes, grandfather. While speaking, Lin Wenlan's gaze couldn't help but fall on Di Beichen, who was beside Di Xiaofeng. Chapter 4607. He had long known about his grandson's appearance. Ordinary young people would inevitably be overshadowed when standing beside Di Xiaofeng. However, the young man in front of him looked even younger than Di Xiaofeng, but standing next to him, he was on par with Di Xiaofeng. His elegance was not hidden at all. Not only that, but he also felt that he saw a familiar shadow on this young man. On the side, Yunishan was also looking at Di Beichen. This was a young man who could not be ignored at a glance. He had a handsome appearance and an otherworldly temperament. Standing beside Di Xiaofeng, he was like a brother. The strangest thing was that she could vaguely see Lin Yinqing's shadow on this young man's face. She couldn't pinpoint exactly where they resembled each other, but there were some similarities in their eyebrows and eyes. She was curious about this young man at the first moment. Lin Wenlan and Yunishan had not seen Di Beichen's portrait before, or they would have recognized him at first glance. Xiaofeng, this young man is? Lin Wenlan asked slowly. For some reason, he liked this young man very much at first sight. Hearing Lin Wenlan's question, Di Xiaofeng was slightly taken aback. Grandfather, you still don't know who he is? Lin Wenlan frowned slightly. This is my first time seeing this young man, how would I know who he is? While saying that, Lin Wenlan secretly cursed in his heart. Could this young man be a young talent from some family? How did he not notice? Hearing this, Di Xiaofeng could not help but laugh. Huh, grandfather, the precious grandson you have been thinking about all these years is here. He thought that his grandfather already knew this news, but he did not expect him to ask such a question. He could not help but feel that it was very interesting. Following Di Xiaofeng's words, Lin Wenlan and Yunishan were both taken aback. They did not immediately understand what Di Xiaofeng meant. However, after they understood the meaning, their expressions could not help but change. They widened their eyes and looked at Di Beichen in disbelief. "You mean he is Beichen?" Yunishan could not help but ask. Although this sentence was full of uncertainty, she felt that the young man in front of her was more and more like a combination of Lin Yunqing and Di Yujue. When she saw him before, she felt that he was very familiar, but her rationality told her that it was impossible. Now, after hearing this news, she completely understood that this young man was Di Beichen. Di Xiaofeng smiled and nodded, "Yes, Beichen is back. Grandfather already sent someone to send the news back. Don't you know?" Yunishan shook her head. "Maybe we missed it on the way." They had been on their way here before. Although the two families had a lot of contact, the distance between them wasn't close. It would take a long time to travel, so it was normal for them to miss each other along the way. In the next second, Yunishan and Lin Wenlan could not help but step forward and quickly walk to Di Beichen's side. The two elders could not hide the excitement on their faces. They stared at Di Beichen excitedly. "Beichen, you are really Beichen. Grandfather, grandmother." Di Beichen called out. Chapter 4608. Hearing Di Beichen's voice, Lin Wenlan and Yunishan could not help but look at each other, their eyes filled with ecstasy. Beichen is really back. All these years, they had been looking forward to finding their lost grandson. However, every time they received news, they were disappointed. They didn't expect that their dream would finally come true. "Good boy. It's good that you're back." The two elders' eyes were slightly wet, and their emotions were complicated. For a moment, they did not know what to say. This surprise came too suddenly. It was as if the things in their dreams had suddenly become reality. For a moment, they were doubting whether this was a dream or reality. "When did Beichen come back?" Lin Wenlan asked with a smile. Originally, when he came to the Di family, he was full of anger, but now that he saw Di Beichen, his anger quietly dissipated. "He just came back yesterday," Di Beichen replied. Yunishan was unwilling to let go of Di Beichen's hand, as if she let go, her grandson would run away. "Beichen, have you been suffering out there all these years?" Her gentle voice was full of love and concern, but more than that, heartache. "Grandmother, I've been living very well. I haven't suffered," Di Beichen replied with a smile. If in the past, he felt that he was abandoned by his family and was an orphan, and felt lonely and sad, now he only felt that he was really lucky. His master raised him and had never mistreated him, and his family cared for him so much. Since yesterday, he felt that this might be the arrangement of God. If he did not go to the lower realm because of the accident, how could he have met Hong Zhuang? In comparison, he felt that the current situation was the best arrangement of God. "How could you not have suffered?" Yunishan sighed, and her eyes were full of love. "But it's good that you're back now. It was impossible for a child to live a lonely life without suffering." However, looking at Di Beichen's current appearance, she knew that Beichen had grown up well. "Grandfather, grandmother, you don't have to worry anymore. Now that Beichen is back, mother's heart will be cured." Di Xiaofeng comforted. Lin Wenlan nodded. She couldn't help but glance at Di Yujue, frowning. "Beichen has already returned. Why didn't you tell us earlier? You made us worry." Listening to Lin Wenlan's words, Di Yujue was also depressed. He clearly wanted to say it several times, but she kept interrupting him, "Okay. Now, you're blaming me for all of this." Even though he was speechless, Di Yujue could only endure the scolding. Who asked the other party to be his father-in-law? No matter what the other party said, he could only listen. Looking at their father's sullen appearance, Di Xiaofeng and Di Beichen couldn't help but look at each other. They wanted to help but couldn't. However, now that Beichen was back, everything was gradually getting better. When mother recovered, everything would be better. Di Linxian and Xia Wanrong immediately rushed over after hearing that Lin Wenlan and the others had come. Compared to the unhappiness when they met in the past, everyone's mood was undoubtedly much better this time. Old man Lin, we finally found Beichen. Now, we don't have to glare at each other as soon as we meet. Chapter 4609. In the beginning, the relationship between the two of them was quite good, but because of these things, they contacted less. Now that Beichen was back, the knot in their hearts could be completely untied. When Lin Wenlan came, she wanted to seek justice, but at this moment, she was only thinking about Di Beichen, and the joy in her eyes could not be concealed at all. Compared to this, nothing else was important. How is Yunqing now? Lin Wenlan asked aloud. Yunqing's condition is gradually improving, and Beichen's wife is now taking care of her. However, Yunqing's body is relatively weak, and she is worried that Beichen's sudden appearance will surprise her too much to bear, so she hasn't seen Beichen yet. However, according to Hong Zhuang, these 2 days will be enough. Xia Wanrong said with a smile. Beichen's wife? Yunishan's eyes lit up, and a strong excitement appeared on her face. Yes. Xia Wanrong walked to Yunishan's side and said with a smile, Hong Zhuang is a rare beauty, and she is also a very powerful doctor. Beichen's cursed body was cured by Hong Zhuang. If it weren't for Hong Zhuang, we wouldn't be able to see Beichen now. I didn't expect to have a granddaughter-in-law so soon, it's really a surprise. The joy on Yunishan's face became more and more intense. In the past few years, she and Xia Wanrong had the same thoughts, and they both hoped that Di Xiaofeng could get married soon. After all, as long as Di Xiaofeng got married and gave birth to a great-grandson, this would add a little joy to the family, and maybe Yunqing's mood would be eased after seeing her grandson. However, Di Xiaofeng didn't seem to have this idea, and they were very helpless. They didn't expect that in the blink of an eye, Beichen was already married, so how could they not be happy? Yes, as long as you see Hong Zhuang, you will like her very much. Xia Wanrong said, let's go to Yunqing's residence first. You should also see your granddaughter-in-law. As they spoke, Xia Wanrong and Yunishan walked forward together. There were always more topics to talk about between women. Wanrong, Beichen's constitution has already transformed into a heavenly mandate constitution, right? Yunishan and Xia Wanrong looked at each other, and a complicated look flashed across their eyes. Xia Wanrong nodded slightly with understanding in her eyes, but she did not say much on this topic. When Lin Wenlan and Di Lin Xian saw that Yunishan and Di Lin Xian had already set off, they followed behind them slowly. However, Lin Wenlan's attention was always on Di Beichen. He hadn't seen his grandson for so many years. Now, he just wanted to take a closer look at him, as if he couldn't get enough of him. Ying, recently, Xiaofeng has always liked to stay outside. I haven't seen him many times. What do you think of him now? Have there been any rumors about him outside? Lin Yunqing's face rippled with a faint gentle smile as she asked Bailey Hongzhuang indirectly. Now, she liked Bailey Hongzhuang more and more. She only felt that if Bailey Hongzhuang could be her daughter-in-law, it would be the best thing. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't realize this, and only thought that Lin Yunqing was curious about Di Xiaofeng's situation outside these years. However, she also didn't know much about Di Xiaofeng. Xiaofeng is naturally a very good person. He is very loyal and has many friends. I just came to the upper realm from the lower realm not long ago, so I'm not very clear about many things. Chapter 4610. Listening to Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the smile in Lin Yunqing's eyes gradually deepened. She was very confident in her son. Among the young talents of the younger generation, there would definitely be a place for Di Xiaofeng. Although old madam had mentioned many young ladies to her before, she wasn't sure what their characters were like. On the contrary, she was very satisfied with Bailey Hongzhuang in front of her. She was not picky at all. Although her body wasn't very good right now, her eyesight was still very good. With one look, she could tell that Bailey Hongzhuang wasn't pretending. This girl's character and conduct were very good. The only thing was that she was from the lower realm. However, she did not have any family background, so she did not feel that it was a big problem. Just as they were talking, suddenly, there was a sound of footsteps outside the door. Lin Yunqing turned to look outside. However, as she was half lying on the bed, she could not see the real situation in the courtyard. She was curious about who had come at this time. My courtyard seems to be very lively today. Lin Yunqing's lips curled into a faint smile. Usually, her place was always quiet and almost no one came back. She did not expect many people to come over these 2 days. Bailey Hongzhuang was also puzzled as she looked outside, her heart filled with curiosity. Who would come at this time? Logically speaking, Bei Chen could not come to see mother now, so no one else should come. Just as the two of them were puzzled, the sound of footsteps came closer. Then, several figures appeared in front of them. Yunqing. Yunishan saw Lin Yunqing at first glance. She immediately walked over and stood by her bed. Bailey Hongzhuang did not know who had come, but when she saw that Di Linxian and Xia Wanrong had come, she knew that the madam in front of her was not ordinary. She immediately took a few steps back and gave up her position. Looking at Lin Yunqing's pale face, Yunishan's eyes were filled with heartache. She asked with concern, Yunqing, we haven't seen each other for a while. How did you become so weak? Mother, I'm fine. Lin Yunqing looked at Yunishan in surprise. Why are you and father here today? Your condition is already so serious. How can your father and I not come? Yunishan sighed, and she could not help but feel heartache as she said, look at you, you've become so thin. Don't just think about yourself. You have to think about me and your father. If you're gone, what will your father and I do? Her daughter had never suffered much since she was young. She suddenly regretted that she shouldn't have spoiled her too much in the past. If it wasn't for that, perhaps she wouldn't have become like this. Hearing this, Lin Yunqing felt a little guilty. Mother, it was my fault. Yunishan shook her head and sighed, but she still couldn't bring herself to reprimand her daughter. She held her hand and said, you have to look on the bright side. Maybe you'll be reunited with Bei Chen one day. Reunite? Lin Yunqing was slightly stunned. The matter of Bei Chen's death was already set in stone. There was no such possibility. However, in the past 2 days, both Bailey Hongzhuang and Yunishan had mentioned this matter to her. Could it be that there was still a chance? Chapter 46:11. Hearing Lin Yunqing's words, Yunishan's expression changed a little. She could not help but look at Xia Wanrong and the others. She had accidentally brought up this topic, so she didn't know how to answer him. Seeing this, Di Xiaofeng quickly said, Mother, we went to Rong, and city where Bei Chen was previously to investigate, but we did not know for sure that Bei Chen had fallen. Therefore, we all feel that the situation might not be as bad as we thought. Bei Chen might still be alive. Is this true? Lin Yunqing was surprised and looked at Yunishan and the others with a burning gaze. Xia Wanrong smiled and said, it's true, so Yunqing, don't lose hope because of this. If Bei Chen comes back one day, you still have to welcome him. You're not lying to me? Lin Yunqing asked uncertainly. Previously, Di Kaiyuan had explained this matter clearly and completely destroyed the last trace of luck in her heart. It was because of this that she had fallen into deep despair. She did not expect everyone to give her a glimmer of hope now. No. Yunishan replied, why would we lie to you about this? Yunqing, this news is indeed true. Di Linxian also said. Hearing Di Linxuan's affirmative answer, the light in Lin Yunqing's eyes became brighter. With Di Linxuan's identity, he definitely would not lie to her. Thinking that Beichen might still be alive, she could not help but rejoice. Now, she did not have many extravagant wishes. The only thing she hoped for was that Beichen was still alive. That's good, that's good. Lin Yunqing heaved a sigh of relief. She only felt that her spirit was much better. When Di Yujue arrived, his gaze had always been on Lin Yunqing. During this period of time, he rarely appeared in front of Lin Yunqing. However, he would come to see her every night. When he saw Lin Yunqing's face that was getting thinner day by day, his heart ached. However, he noticed that Lin Yunqing's complexion was much better today, unlike her usual appearance. Suddenly, he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a trace of admiration and amazement. He had heard from Di Xiaofeng that Yunqing's condition was improving, but after seeing it with his own eyes, he couldn't help but sigh. He didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to have such outstanding medical skills at such a young age. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, most people wouldn't have believed it. Father, mother, since you've come this time, stay here for a few more days. Lin Yunqing's eyes were filled with anticipation. She truly hoped that they could stay and accompany her. Hearing this, Lin Wenlon smiled and nodded. Okay. This time, we were planning to stay here for a while. Their grandson and granddaughter-in-law had finally returned, so they naturally had to get along well. However, staying here for 1 or 2 days was obviously not enough. Moreover, they wanted to see Yunqing's body get better bit by bit and see Yunqing and Beichen reunite. Chapter 46:12. After chatting with Lin Yunqing for a while, Yunishan turned her gaze to Bailey Hongzhuang. In fact, she had noticed Bailey Hongzhuang from the moment she stepped into the room. Such a beautiful woman was impossible to ignore. She was like the sun, an existence that people would notice at a glance. This feeling was as dazzling and eye-catching as when they first saw Di Beichen. As early as on the way here, Xia Wanrong had already told her that her granddaughter-in-law was taking care of Yunqing. Therefore, as long as she thought about it, she knew that this young and beautiful girl was Di Beichen's wife. What a beautiful lady! Yunishan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile, her gaze gentle and kind. Lin Yunqing's face was also filled with an appreciative smile. Mother, Yingying is really beautiful. When I first saw her, I couldn't believe that there was such a beautiful lady in this world. Yunishan nodded slightly. In fact, Lin Yunqing was also a rare beauty, but Lin Yunqing and Bailey Hongzhuang were two completely different types of beauty. Lin Yunqing's beauty was gentle, scholarly and reasonable, like an ink painting. Bailey Hongzhuang's beauty was incomparably exquisite, but there was also a trace of heroic spirit in her beauty, showing her strength and perseverance. Yunishan had seen countless people and could tell at a glance that although Bailey Hongzhuang was young, she had her own opinions. Although it was easy for people to treat her as a vase with her outstanding appearance, in fact, she had her own persistence and was definitely not just for show. I heard that it was because you took good care of Yunqing that her condition gradually improved. Yunishan stepped forward and took Bailey Hongzhuang's hand. What a good lady! Bailey Hongzhuang already knew that this was Di Beichen's grandmother. She secretly sighed in her heart. This was really a family with strong genes. Everyone was outstanding. This is what I should do. It must have been hard on you to take care of Yunqing. Yunishan smiled kindly, her gentle gaze filled with affection. This was the first time she had met Bailey Hongzhuang, but she had heard that Beichen's physique had been transformed by her. If it weren't for Bailey Hongzhuang, they would never have seen Beichen again. Therefore, she was very grateful to Bailey Hongzhuang. In fact, anyone who saw such an excellent and outstanding girl would like her. Lin Yinqing looked at her mother in surprise. She knew Yunishan's character very well. Logically speaking, even if Bailey Hongzhuang took good care of her, she would not be so kind. This attitude was completely inconsistent with her usual personality. However, when he thought about how he liked Bailey Hongzhuang inexplicably when he had just met her, perhaps his mother was in the same situation. Perhaps, this was Bailey Hongzhuang's magic. She had a kind of magic that made people like her at first sight. Lin Wenlan was relieved when he saw that Lin Yinqing's condition was not as bad as he had thought. Looking at the situation, she was indeed gradually recovering. "Old man Lin, you should be relieved now, right?" Di Linxian said with a smile. Lin Wenlan nodded, but his expression was still solemn as usual. "Back then, when I married Yinqing into your family, I wanted her to live a good life. Who would have thought that she would suffer so much all these years? Don't worry, it won't happen again," Di Linxian quickly said. Chapter 46:13. Everyone stayed in Lin Yinqing's room for a while before leaving. Bailey Hongzhuang also sent them out of the room. Di Beichen had been standing in the courtyard, so he could vaguely hear some of the voices in the room. When he heard that Lin Yinqing was still so concerned about his situation, his heart was gradually touched. He suddenly hoped to see Lin Yinqing soon and let her know that he was still alive so that she could be completely relieved. As soon as they arrived at the courtyard, Yunishan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in surprise. "This is my precious granddaughter-in-law." Xia Wanrong smiled and nodded. "Isn't she? You'll like her as soon as you see her, right?" "Indeed." Yunishan smiled kindly and brightly. "One look and I can tell that she's a good girl. Beichen really has good taste." At the same time, Di Beichen also walked to Bailey Hongzhuang and said with a smile, "Hongzhuang, this is grandfather and grandmother." "Grandfather, grandmother." Bailey Hongzhuang bowed and greeted. "Yes." Yunishan responded with satisfaction and reached out to help Bailey Hongzhuang up. "What a good child." Lin Wenlan also looked at Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile. These two children really match each other when they stand together. "Beichen, tell grandfather about your experience over the years." "Over the years, we've been worried about whether you're doing well. Fortunately, you're very capable and came back safely. We're really happy." Lin Wenlan's gaze was soft and his voice was full of concern. From the moment he knew that Di Beichen had come back, his heart was boiling. That kind of excitement could not be expressed in words. However, he, who had always been serious, did not know how to express his feelings. He was just eager to know how Beichen had lived over the years. "Yunqing still needs to rest. I think it's better to go to our place and have a good chat with Beichen. What do you think?" Di Linxian said. "Okay," Lin Wenlan agreed. "Beichen just came back yesterday, and we didn't know the specific situation. Today, let's listen to Beichen's previous experience together," Xia Wanrong said with a smile. Everyone nodded. They were really curious about Beichen's past. What Di Yujue had said before was just some general information. As for the specific situation, they were completely unaware. They had only found their precious grandson after so many years. It was impossible for them to participate in Di Beichen's previous life, but at least they hoped to know more about it. Di Beichen didn't have any objections. He understood that the elders in his family were very concerned about him, so he was naturally happy to talk about his past. "Granddaughter-in-law, why don't you come with us?" Yunishan held Bailey Hongzhuang's hand and said with a smile. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced at everyone and said with a smile, "Grandmother, you all go ahead. I still have to take care of mother." Hearing that, Yunishan frowned slightly. She looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and then looked at Lin Yinqing's house with a complicated expression. It's okay. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. Grandfather and grandmother will stay here for a while. When mother's condition improves, it won't be too late for us to talk about it together. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, Yunishan and the others couldn't help but look more gentle. They didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so sensible. How could they not like her? Chapter 46:14. Hongzhuang is really a good girl. Yunishan and Xia Wanrong walked together and could not help but sigh with emotion. In fact, with the degree of love they had for their grandson, they must have certain requirements for their granddaughter-in-law. However, after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang, they could not find anything they were dissatisfied with. Yes. Xia Wanrong also nodded. Hongzhuang is not only very considerate, but also has outstanding medical skills. Although she is from the lower realm, she is not petty at all. On the contrary, there is a sense of generosity in her. Usually, according to their understanding, when a cultivator from the lower realm suddenly became the daughter-in-law of an aristocratic family from the upper realm, there must be a trace of worry and panic in her heart. However, since Bailey Hongzhuang came to the D family, they could not see this problem from her at all. On the contrary, Bailey Hongzhuang had always been neither servile nor overbearing. She did not feel weak because of her background, nor did she think highly of herself because of her family's kindness to Beichen. All of her performances were full of generosity. She was very polite to the elders and very considerate to Yunqing. All of these performances made them very satisfied. It is indeed very good that Beichen can find such a wife, but, Yunishan looked at Xia Wanrong with a complicated expression. They had to face the problem in this. Xia Wanrong shook her head slightly. That matter is indeed very troublesome, but since it has come to this, let's just forget about it. Hearing this, Yunishan sighed. In the current situation, this is indeed the only way, but the consequences may be a little troublesome. There is no other way. Xia Wanrong looked determined. It was as if she had already made up her mind. Beichen's return is already the happiest thing for us. Moreover, Hongzhuang's family has a great debt of gratitude to Beichen. We must not let Hongzhuang suffer. Di Linxian also thinks so. Yunishan could not help but ask. Yes, he values these debts of gratitude the most, so he has already made up his mind. Hearing this, Yunishan nodded. That's right. I also think that we should do that. As for the consequences, although it's troublesome, we can bear it. Many things are unavoidable. However, since things have come to this point, we can only do our best to minimize the impact. Di Beichen walked beside Di Yujue. It was only now that Di Yujue had a chance to talk to him properly. Beichen, are you used to living here? Di Yujue asked with concern in his eyes. It's pretty good. Di Beichen smiled faintly. Everyone prepared a place for us to stay. How could we not get used to it? Hongzhuang and I both like it very much. That's good. Di Yujue smiled. If there's anything you're not used to, just tell us. We'll definitely help you solve it. You are a member of the D family, the second young master of the D family. Please don't treat me like an outsider. I understand. Di Beichen replied. When I was in the lower realm, I didn't expect you to be the person I've been looking for. It's really fate. Di Yujue could not help but sigh. When he first met Di Beichen, he had a very strange feeling. He did not expect that there was a blood relationship between them. Chapter 46:15. Suddenly hearing Di Beichen's words, Di Yujue was also slightly stunned. Then, his expression softened, and his heart was filled with joy and gratitude. Although he knew that his son had forgiven him from the moment Di Beichen called him father, the worry in his heart had never dissipated. If it weren't for his negligence back then, the other party wouldn't have had the opportunity to take advantage of him, and Beichen wouldn't have been away for so many years. Therefore, when he spoke to Di Beichen, he was always cautious and wasn't as comfortable as when he spoke to Xia Wanrong and the others. At this moment, when he suddenly heard these words, he knew that Beichen was comforting him and telling him not to worry about the past. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but smile. Okay. Di Beichen smiled. The past is the past. The most important thing is that our family will be together in the future. That's right. Di Yujua nodded. We are still investigating what happened back then. As long as we find Di Kaiyuan's accomplice, we will definitely punish them severely. Beichen forgave him, but the murderer must be caught and severely punished. Since he dared to attack the direct descendant of the Di family, he must definitely make the other party pay a heavy price. Not only did the other party attack me, but they also attacked Big Brother. This matter indeed needs to be investigated thoroughly. Di Beichen's voice was slightly heavy. He already knew about Di Kaiyuan's matter, but his thoughts were the same as Di Xiaofeng and Di Yujue. This matter was definitely not as simple as it seemed. Compared to Di Kaiyuan, the accomplice might be the instigator. If they didn't find the other party, they would always be in a mystery. Indeed. There was a trace of haze between Di Xiaofeng's brows. The incident back then was still vivid in his mind. If it wasn't for his strength being stronger than the other party estimated, he would have died back then. Father, have you found out anything about this matter? Di Xiaofeng couldn't help but ask. Kaiyuan is already dead. It's very difficult to investigate this matter now. I investigated based on the people Kaiyuan often contacted before, but the other party was very secretive. I could only find a few clues. Now that I've set my sights on the Jun family, they're most likely the ones who want to make a move on the Di family. Di Xiaofeng's expression darkened. The Jun family has always been dissatisfied with our Di family's resources. Coupled with Beichen's cursed body, they are most likely the culprits. What does my cursed body have to do with them? Di Beichen was puzzled. He had heard of the Jun family from Di Xiaofeng before, but why was it related to his physique? Beichen, you just came back, so you don't know enough about the family's situation. I'll tell you everything in the next few days, Di Yujue said. All right. Di Beichen nodded. He also understood that this was not the right time to talk about this in detail. However, he did need to understand all of this. Whether it was enemies, friends, or the situation, he needed to know. And now, it was obvious that the elders were more curious about his growth and life over the years. After Lin Wenlan and the others arrived, Lin Yinqing's mood was clearly better. Madam, you seem to be in a good mood. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled at Lin Yinqing. She could clearly feel that Lin Yinqing was in a very good state. Chapter 46:16. Madam, it's good that you're willing to think this way. You must maintain a good mood and your body will gradually get better. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes shone brightly. She didn't expect everything to go so smoothly. Originally, he thought that even if he and Di Xiaofeng tried to persuade Lin Yinqing, it would be difficult for Lin Yinqing's heart to recover. But now, everything was developing in a good direction. This heart disease was both a serious and minor illness. As long as Lin Yinqing thought it through, she would recover very quickly. Lin Yinqing smiled gently and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. Ying, ever since you came, I feel that my heart has relaxed a lot. That's good. The next day, when Bailey Hongzhuang came to Lin Yinqing's courtyard again, she found that her spirit had improved. It was much better than when she first saw her. Thinking that Beichen had always wanted to see Lin Yinqing, she thought that there shouldn't be any problems with her current state. Seeing the smile on Bailey Hongzhuang's face, Lin Yinqing's eyes flashed with a trace of doubt. She couldn't help but ask, "Ying, what's the good news today? You seem to be very happy." "Madam, I want to give you a surprise today." Hearing this, Lin Yunqing was astonished and a trace of curiosity appeared on her face. "What surprise?" "You'll know when you see it." Bailey Hongzhuang winked and kept her in suspense. "This child, you're actually keeping me in suspense." Although Lin Yunqing said this, the smile on her face didn't decrease at all. "The sun is just right today. Madam has been staying in the room every day, so it's time for you to go out and bask in the sun." Bailey Hongzhuang smiled at Lin Yunqing. "How about I help you out?" Lin Yunqing looked at the weather outside. She indeed hadn't gone out to bask in the sun for a long time. Perhaps it was a good idea to go out and bask in the sun. "Okay." Seeing that Lin Yunqing agreed, Bailey Hongzhuang helped her out of the room. However, when Lin Yunqing walked out of the house, she found that all her family members were gathered in the courtyard, looking at her with smiles on their faces. Seeing this scene, Lin Yunqing could not help but be stunned. Her eyes flashed with deep astonishment. "Why are all of you here?" Everyone looked at Lin Yunqing with a smile but did not answer. Their gazes then fell on Di Beichen. Noticing the change in everyone's gazes, Lin Yunqing also looked at Di Beichen. The moment she saw Di Beichen, her body trembled, and her eyes quickly reddened. Her gaze was tightly focused on Di Beichen, filled with disbelief and ecstasy. This is Beichen." Lin Yunqing subconsciously looked at Di Yujue, her voice trembling with surprise and worry. She was worried that everything in front of her was an illusion. She was worried that she was seeing things. Di Yujue smiled and nodded. "That's right." Hearing Di Yujue's affirmative answer, Lin Yunqing could not help but cover her mouth with her hand. She almost cried out in surprise, but her tears instantly burst out. "Mother, I'm back." From the moment Lin Yunqing appeared, Di Beichen's gaze fell on her. This was the first time he saw his mother. Previously, when he was outside the house, he could only hear her voice. He had also fantasized about his mother's appearance. At this moment, seeing her, he felt a sense of familiarity in his heart. My cultivation speed will be faster than before. Devouring the bloodline was a shortcut for demonic beasts to increase their strength. Moreover, through devouring the bloodline, they could continuously improve their own bloodline and become a higher-tier demonic beast. A beast king's level was already very high. However, through devouring the bloodline, they could continuously evolve. "I see." Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. "Then this is a good idea for you. If the white lion could continue to evolve, its future achievements would be very terrifying." Chapter 46-19. Transform into a human. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up with anticipation. She had always known that mystical beasts could transform into a human once they reached a certain level of cultivation. However, she did not know the exact details of this level. She never thought that White Lion would be able to transform into a human so quickly. "I wonder what White Lion will look like in human form." Xiao He propped up her round chin with one hand. Her eyes flashed with curiosity and a thoughtful light. "I think that White Lion will look pretty good in human form. Perhaps he'll even look very dignified. After all, he's a beast king, so he's naturally dignified," Xiao Bai said thoughtfully. "That's not necessarily true, is it?" Xiao He frowned. "Do you remember how adorable White Lion used to be? Perhaps he'll turn into a little Shota. I think that'll suit his characteristics quite well." "Master, what do you think?" Bailey Hongzhuang looked at White Lion in front of her and thought for a moment before saying, I think that White Lion will look very handsome in human form. White Lion had indeed been very adorable when he had first become her pet beast. Now, White Lion has the might of a beast king. Just by looking at him now, one could tell that he was very handsome. He would definitely stand out among mystical beasts. White Lion smiled when he heard Bailey Hongzhuang's words. His master was so kind to him. Now that we have White Dragon in our team and White Lion who has grown stronger, our battle power is much stronger than before. The corners of Di Beichen's lips curled into a warm smile. Everything was progressing in a good direction. Good news came one after another. It was truly delightful. Everyone could not help but look at Bai Long. Now, Bai Long could be said to be the strongest among them. White Dragon had been very calm ever since he had awakened. Even though he and Xiao He would often complain about each other whenever they were together, White Dragon was always deep in thought most of the time. Clearly, White Dragon had been trying to retrieve her lost memories. It was just that she had not been able to do so in such a short time. In this regard, Bailey Hongzhuang was also unable to help. Bai Long had stayed there for too long, and her memories were sealed. Therefore, even if she was a doctor, it was useless. She did have some understanding of seals, but to be able to seal the White Dragon's memories, the other party's strength could be said to be extremely strong. With her current strength, it was obvious that she could not break it. Family banquet. All of the direct descendants of the Di family had arrived. Even some of the branch family leaders had also arrived. As the second young master of Di Beichen's clan, many clansmen didn't know what he looked like before. Taking this opportunity, everyone should have some knowledge about this second young master. Although a family banquet had been held before, it was only for members of the direct line of descent. At that time, Di Linxian and the others were immersed in the surprise of Di Beichen's return and did not have the mood to introduce the family members to Di Beichen. Beichen, welcome back. A young man walked up to Di Beichen. He was about the same age as Di Xiaofeng, and was slightly older than Di Beichen. He was wearing dark green clothes and had a dignified appearance. There was a polite smile on his face, and he gave off a refreshing feeling. Looking at the man in front of him, Di Beichen felt a bit confused. He did not know who this person was, but he still smiled and replied, "Thank you." At this moment, Di Xiaofeng walked over and said, "Beichen, let me introduce you. This is the second elder's son, Dai Heoan." Chapter 46-20. Xiaofeng, you're flattering me. Dai Heoan quickly waved his hand. You've always been so humble. Everyone has seen your performance over the years. Di Xiaofeng's face was full of smiles. He seemed to be very familiar with Dai Heoan. Noticing Di Xiaofeng's reaction, Di Beichen looked at Dai Heoan with kindness. Since Di Xiaofeng thought so highly of him, he must be a good helper for the family. You're too kind. Dai Heoan cupped his hands. I'm just doing what I should do. Beichen, I was still dealing with things outside. After hearing the news of your return, I rushed back as soon as possible. Seeing you today, I can tell that you're not simple. Haoan, you're overpraising me. Di Beichen smiled faintly. Although I just came back, I know that I have a lot of shortcomings compared to everyone. If there's anything I don't do well in the future, I hope you can remind me. You don't have to worry too much about this. With your ability, you'll be able to do it very soon. Dai Heoan quickly said. Di Xiaofeng also smiled and nodded. That's right. When you were in the lower realm, you were a rare genius. The reason why there's a gap between your cultivation and ours is because you don't have enough cultivation resources. Now that you've returned to the family, you'll be able to catch up soon. That's right. Beichen, you talk to Haoan first. I'll go over. With that, Di Xiaofeng walked to the other side. Di Baichen chatted with Daiheoan. After listening to the latter's introduction, he had a better understanding of the family's situation. In the process of this conversation, he found that Daiheoan's personality was indeed excellent. He was not anxious and his voice was clear and steady. No matter what it was, he was very patient and explained everything patiently, making people willing to befriend him. From this point, he could imagine that Di Haopan must have an extremely good relationship with people in the clan. Baichen, Zhai's is here. Daiheoan said as he looked at the figure slowly approaching. Hearing this, Di Baichen also looked at the newcomer. He saw that the newcomer was wearing a dark blue robe. His appearance was also quite outstanding, but he seemed more reserved. Zhai's? Zhai's is the son of the third elder. He is 2 years older than me. His cultivation is very outstanding, and he is also very famous in the family. Daiheoan introduced. Di Baichen finally understood. So that's how it is. So you're Baichen. There was a faint smile on Di Zhai's face, but it didn't enter his eyes. I've heard that your most outstanding feature is your appearance. Originally, in this family, Xiaofeng was the most handsome. As his younger brother, you really are similar in this aspect. Although it was a compliment, it made Di Baichen's eyes darken a bit. On the surface, Di Zhai's was praising him for his handsome appearance, but in reality, he was saying that he only had good looks. Perhaps for a woman, having an outstanding appearance was a compliment, but for a man, it was obviously not so. Daiheoan obviously understood Di Zhai's meaning. His expression was somewhat awkward, and he couldn't help but smile and smooth things over. The master and madam were a perfect match, so Xiaofeng and Baichen are both first-class handsome men. As a man, so what if you have an outstanding appearance? Di Zhai's didn't care. The most important thing is your own strength. Otherwise, everything is nonsense. Chapter 46-21. Zhai's, Baichen has been away all these years, so his cultivation level is naturally a little weaker than the others. But if it were us, we might not be able to catch up to Baichen in the lower realm. Daiheoan said. Di Zhai's smiled faintly and spread out his hands. I didn't say anything, I just reminded Baichen that he can't immerse himself in glory after coming back, he has to cultivate properly. Is there a problem with that? Then thank you for your reminder. Di Baichen's expression was gentle, but he was not angry. He had suddenly returned, so naturally he would take up other people's resources, so it was not strange for such a situation to occur. Seeing that Di Baichen did not take this matter to heart, Di Zhai's was a little bored, so he found an excuse and left. Baichen, Zhai's has always been like this, sometimes his words are not very nice, please don't take it to heart. Daiheoan comforted. Di Baichen smiled and waved his hand, it's okay, he is telling the truth, I am aware of this. Actually, it doesn't matter, we are still so young, there is still a long time in the future. With your talent, it is only a matter of time before you catch up. When Bailey Hongzhuang came over, she heard Daiheoan's words, and immediately looked at the latter with a trace of surprise and gentleness. Although she did not know this person, for him to say such words to Baichen, he must be a very good person. This is Hongzhuang, right? Daiheoan looked at Bailey Hongzhuang in amazement. I have long heard that sister-in-law is a rare beauty, you really live up to your reputation. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly, you flatter me. I am telling the truth, I have seen many beauties in these years, but it is the first time I have seen a beauty like sister-in-law. Daiheoan sighed, since sister-in-law is here, I will not disturb you. After Daiheoan left, Bailey Hongzhuang learned of Daiheoan's name from Di Baichen's introduction. Not long after, Di Xiaofeng came back and smiled, how is it? Haoan is a gentle person, he is easy to get along with. Di Baichen nodded slightly, indeed. He has always been like this, so he is very popular in the family. Di Xiaofeng smiled faintly, but I just noticed that Haoan also came over. Did he say something unpleasant? Without Di Beichen's reply, Di Xiaofeng had already guessed it. Zhai's is actually like that. I have gotten used to it over the years, but although he is a bit arrogant, he is also wholeheartedly for the family. Did my return this time affect his interests? Di Beichen looked at Di Xiaofeng. If I didn't come back, would the next head of the family be him? Hearing Di Beichen's words, Di Xiaofeng was slightly taken aback, then revealed a look of admiration. Beichen, you are really smart. I didn't plan to tell you this, but since you have already guessed it, then I will say it directly. You know my situation. I will definitely inherit the Lin family in the future, and the Di family must also have someone to inherit. Although grandfather didn't say it before, the heir must be chosen from the outstanding young people in the family. Chapter 46-22. Actually, the strongest person is Zhai's, but I feel that if the clansmen were to choose, it would be Haoan, Di Xiaofeng said slowly. Hearing this, Di Beichen nodded slightly. Haoan has a good personality and is very popular. If his strength is similar to Zhai's, then he is more likely to be the head of the family. As the head of the family, strength was only one aspect. One's personality was also very important. One must consider everything from the family's interests and not just oneself. Zhai's was arrogant and valued his own interests more. On the other hand, Daiheoan was more magnanimous. That's right. Di Xiaofeng smiled faintly. Zhai's is just unhappy for a while. It's inevitable that he will have some complaints. Don't take it to heart. He's not a bad person. It's just that his words are a bit irritating. Sometimes, I get into arguments with him because of some things, but we are all part of the Di family. I understand. After hearing the conversation between the two, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyebrows suddenly showed a trace of surprise. Is Haoan also one of the candidates? I don't see any dissatisfaction from his behavior. That's Haoan's personality. He doesn't care much about these things. Usually, he doesn't compete for cultivation resources that are related to his own cultivation. In fact, his personality is very similar to the second elder. No matter what it is, as long as it's good for the family, he will do it wholeheartedly. He doesn't care about hard work and tiring work at all. Di Xiaofeng sighed. It was because of this that everyone in the family liked the second elder. I see. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled. From what she knew so far, the Di family was indeed a family that got along very well. Although some friction was inevitable, everyone was basically doing it for the good of the family. In the future, you will know when you stay in the family for a long time. In fact, there are no big problems. Everyone gets along very well. However, after the incident with Di Kaiyuan, I think everyone should be more careful. Di Xiaofeng's expression was complicated. We never thought that there would be a traitor in the family. Especially when we found out that the traitor was the steward, we were all shocked. If a person is going to disguise himself, he will probably do it very well, so I think we should all be careful. However, there's no need to worry about those close to you. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen couldn't help but look at each other. It seemed that Di Xiaofeng's mind had become more meticulous than before after experiencing the previous incident. In fact, this was also a good development. After all, with their status, there were definitely many people who wanted to gain benefits from them. It was better to be safe than sorry. Only by being careful could they ensure their own safety. Just as they were talking, a commotion suddenly came from not far away. It was a bit noisy, but there was also a voice they were familiar with. That direction should be where Bai Shi and the others are. Bailey Hongzhuang looked in the direction of the sound. She had come from there before. Xiao He, Xiao Bai, Bai Shi, and Bai Long were all eating snacks there. There's suddenly a commotion now. Could it be that something happened there? Let's go and take a look, Di Baichen said. Chapter 46-23. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others arrived, they saw Bai Long looking at Daiheoan coldly. I said, stay away from me. Daiheoan looked at Bai Long in shock. He didn't expect the situation to turn out like this. Miss, I'm sorry, what happened? Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Bai Long looking at the situation. It was obvious that she had a conflict with Daiheoan, and she had directly attacked him. Hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's question, Ling said, this person is a lecher. As soon as these words were spoken, everyone was stunned and looked at each other. Based on their interactions with Daiheoan, it was difficult to associate him with a lecher. Daiheoan, what's wrong? Di Xiaofeng frowned. Being called a lecher by a girl was not a light crime. If all of this was true, Daiheoan would definitely be severely punished because the Di family would never allow such a situation to happen. Daiheoan's expression was nervous and complicated. Even his voice was a bit flustered. I just wanted to get to know this girl. I didn't expect, get to know what? I don't want to know you. Ling said coldly. Seeing this, Di Baichen looked directly at Xiao He and Xiao Bai. The words of these two people were not very clear. It was better to understand the truth from the words of bystanders. From Xiao He and Xiao Bai's explanation, everyone understood. It turned out that when Daiheoan first saw Ling he was shocked and admired her. Thus, he wanted to get to know Ling However, Ling didn't want to get to know him, so she didn't pay attention to his question. If it was someone else, they would have given up. However, Daiheoan really wanted to get to know Ling so he ignored her coldness. Instead, he took a step closer and wanted to pat her on the shoulder. Unfortunately, Ling just turned around and Daiheoan's hand touched her chest. The situation suddenly became a lot more complicated. After knowing all of this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others had complicated expressions. According to this, it was indeed a bit difficult to explain. Daiheoan did not do it on purpose. However, from Ling's point of view, this behavior could indeed be called lecher. Miss Ling I'm really sorry. I was rude just now. Daiheoan repeatedly cupped his hands, looking nervous and worried. What do you want me to do to appease you? No matter what you say, I'm willing to do it. However, Ling only looked at Daiheoan coldly, her eyes full of disgust. In my opinion, there is indeed some misunderstanding in this matter, but Hao An really did wrong. Miss Ling please calm down. Don't be angry and hurt your body. Di Xiaofeng tried to mediate. This was the only thing he could do. Just make him disappear from my sight now. Ling's eyes were still full of disgust. She did not want to see Daiheoan again. Seeing this, Daiheoan still wanted to say something, but Di Xiaofeng directly persuaded him to leave. Bailey Hongzhuang also walked to Ling's side and said, Ling calm down. Hao An probably didn't do it on purpose. Ling's expression was cold until Daiheoan's figure disappeared. Then, she said, he's not a good person. Chapter 46-24. Not a bad person. Ling sneered, you're too naive. I think this person is just a hypocrite. He's not a good person at all. Little Black sighed, how can it be as exaggerated as you say? I saw what happened just now. He didn't do it on purpose. It's just that the timing was bad. If you're so sure that he's a bad person just because of this, then you're being too decisive. It's not about that. Ling's clear voice sounded ethereal, this is just my intuition. Anyway, I don't think he's a good person. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others smiled helplessly. After this incident, Ling Er's impression of Daehaoan was terrible. However, from Daehaoan's behavior, he seemed to have developed feelings for Ling Er. As a result, the situation became very complicated. Ling Er, this is the first time you've seen Daehaoan. Maybe you'll change your mind in the future. Xiao Bai couldn't help but say. It's up to you to believe it or not. Ling Er obviously couldn't be bothered to say more about this matter. She turned around and went back to her room. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Ling Er's back as she left and shook her head helplessly. However, she didn't say anything. In fact, an ordinary woman wouldn't be able to accept something like this. It was normal for Ling Er to have such a reaction. If she was in Ling Er's shoes, she would definitely be very angry. At this moment, everyone knew about the cultivation area in the courtyard. Other than the cultivation room with abundant vitality, there were also lightning rooms, ice rooms, and other attribute cultivation rooms that were suitable for cultivators. However, when the cultivators of the D family found out that Di Beichen had a darkness attribute innate talent, everyone's expression became complicated. Beichen, are you really of the dark attribute? Di Yujue looked at Di Beichen in astonishment. It wasn't that there hadn't been a practitioner of the dark attribute in their family, but there had never been one among the direct descendants. Di Beichen nodded slightly. That's right. When I awakened my innate talent, it was indeed of the dark attribute. Actually, there's nothing wrong with the darkness attribute. It's just that everyone has some prejudice against the power of darkness. Additionally, the cultivation method for the darkness attribute has been lost. I'm afraid it will be difficult for you to improve your strength. Di Lin Xian's expression was complicated. To a cultivator, the limitless potential in the future was undoubtedly the most important. From their point of view, it didn't matter what element Beichen had. However, even the Di family didn't have any dark elemental training methods. Without a cultivation method, even with Beichen's Heaven's Mandate physique, it would be very difficult for him to improve at the later stages. Lin Wenlan's eyes revealed a pondering expression. My Lin family does have some related items. However, the level isn't high. I'm afraid it's not suitable. Hearing Lin Wenlan's words, Di Lin Xian and the others were astonished. They didn't expect the Lin family to have something related to the dark attribute. Although they were a big family, others wouldn't dare to say anything even if they had such items. However, most people wouldn't say anything. Since Lin Wenlan was willing to say it, it proved that she trusted them. Looking at the worried expressions of the elders, Di Beichen couldn't help but smile. Grandfather, you don't have to worry. I have both cultivation methods and martial skills. Chapter 46-25. Di Yujue's gaze suddenly froze as if he had thought of something. Did you obtain the inheritance in the lower realm? If it wasn't for this inheritance, he would have found Beichen long ago. There wouldn't have been any trouble at all. However, at that time, he only thought of it as an ordinary inheritance and didn't think too much about it. However, if there was a complete cultivation method for the dark attribute, then this inheritance wasn't just an ordinary inheritance. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Yes, I obtained the complete inheritance there. I see. The people who were still a little worried suddenly relaxed a little. Although the dark attribute cultivators would inevitably be criticized by others, they were actually quite open-minded. In this world, strength was number one. As long as one was strong enough, so what if one's attribute was rejected by others? Moreover, compared to some people who cultivated sinister cultivation methods, this was nothing at all. It might be more difficult for the dark attribute cultivators to survive in the outside world, but in the aristocratic families, this wasn't a big deal. Since you've obtained your own inheritance, then we can rest assured. Di Linchuan's face revealed a smile. After a few days of getting along, he was more and more satisfied with Di Beichen. Although Di Beichen wasn't in the family all these years, Sect Master Situ obviously nurtured him very well. He was neither arrogant nor rash, calm and hard-working. Even when he returned to the Di family, he didn't show any arrogance. Not only that, Bailey Hongzhuang was also very satisfactory. He believed that Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang would soon become very outstanding among the younger generation. Beichen, since you have the dark attribute, what is Hongzhuang's attribute? Xia Wanrong asked. Hongzhuang has the light attribute. Light attribute. Xia Wanrong's eyes lit up and a hint of surprise appeared in her eyes. Among the many attributes, the light attribute is the rarest. I didn't expect Hongzhuang to have the rare light attribute. Yunishan was also a little shocked. This attribute could be said to be 1 in 1,000. Di Beichen smiled. Indeed, but in fact, Hongzhuang and I seem to have awakened 2 attributes. After thinking about it, Di Beichen decided to tell his family about it. They were all family members who were worthy of his trust. They were wholeheartedly looking out for him, so he naturally had nothing to hide. On the other hand, he and Hongzhuang did not understand the nature of these attributes. Perhaps they could find an explanation here. 2 attributes. As Di Beichen's voice fell, the audience fell into silence. Everyone's expression changed slightly, and their expressions were full of shock. Both of you? Di Beichen nodded slightly. That's right. We haven't been in the upper realm for long, so we don't know much about this situation. This is just the result that both of us have determined. When they first awakened their talents, they relied on guesses about this situation. However, after cultivating, they confirmed that they could indeed cultivate 2 attributes. I heard that there have been cultivators who have awakened more than 1 attribute in the past. They later became extremely powerful. However, this situation is too rare. It's 1 in 10,000, so very few people know about it, Di Lin Xian said slowly. I've also heard about this. However, it's really surprising that Beichen and Hongzhuang have 2 attributes. Chapter 46-26. Di Beichen didn't know how to explain this. In fact, when he and Hongzhuang found out about this, they also felt that it was very strange. However, other than coincidence, there was no other explanation. Beichen, the family has a talent testing device. Why don't you test it for us here? Di Lin Xian suggested. There was only him, Xia Wanrong, Lin Wenlan, Yunishan, Di Yujue, and Di Xiaofeng here. They were all direct relatives, so there was no need to guard against them. Okay. Di Beichen agreed without hesitation. Soon, the innate talent tester was ready. Di Beichen placed both of his hands on the innate talent tester, and his elemental energy instantly surged out. Then, the transparent innate talent tester began to flash with light. It was an extremely dense black color, like ink that couldn't be dissolved. Noticing this, Di Yujue and the others understood that Di Beichen indeed had the dark attribute. However, when the black color reached a certain level, everyone exclaimed in their hearts. Extreme dark attribute talent. Di Lin Xian's face was filled with emotion. It's actually 100% extreme. With such a strong talent, coupled with the dark attribute cultivation method, his cultivation speed will definitely be extraordinary. They were very clear that the level of talent meant potential. The higher the level, the faster the cultivation speed, and the greater the potential. On the contrary, if one's talent wasn't strong enough, they would only need to double the time to cultivate. Naturally, they wouldn't be able to compare to cultivators with high talent. Based on the current situation, as long as Di Beichen didn't die, there would be a dark attribute powerhouse in the Di family in the future. If this is only the dark attribute, what about the light attribute? Di Xiaofeng was a little curious. Before Beichen mentioned this matter, he had never heard of such a possibility. If all of this was true, then his brother's talent was really terrifying. Just as Di Xiaofeng asked this question, everyone noticed that a bright white light gradually appeared in the darkness of the talent testing device. In the dense darkness, the white light was especially obvious, bright and shining. Then, the white light gradually grew stronger, like sunlight illuminating the darkness. Di Beichen was surprised to find that the white light this time was much denser than before, presumably because he had started cultivating the light energy. It really is the light attribute. Yunishan's face was filled with shock. This light attribute isn't weak either. It's just that Beichen's talent in the darkness attribute is stronger. Two innate attributes, darkness and light at that. This is too inconceivable. Xia Wanrong had a puzzled look. This kind of thing was simply unheard of. If it hadn't happened in front of her, she wouldn't have believed it. Beichen, is Hong Zhuang in the same situation as you? Di Yujue asked. Di Beichen nodded slightly. That's right. It's just that our order is reversed. Then how are you cultivating now? Now that we are cultivating both attributes at the same time, we haven't encountered any major problems in the process. Di Beichen recalled the cultivation process. Cultivating both attributes at the same time, other than spending more time, was not a big deal. It seems that you and Hong Zhuang are both rare geniuses, Di Linxian said seriously. We don't know much about this. Go back and check the ancient books to see if there are any records about this. Chapter 46-27. Translator, Henyi Translations Editor, Henyi Translations. Once Di Lin Xian finished speaking, everyone nodded. No matter how they looked at it, it was an extremely powerful innate gift. Once they cultivated both attributes, it meant that they would have twice as many tricks up their sleeves as ordinary cultivators. Twice as many. When experts fought, it was usually just a difference of one move. With twice as many tricks up their sleeves, it was basically impossible for anyone of the same level to be a match for them. Just thinking about it, everyone could understand how terrifying this innate gift was. Don't spread this news for now. Wait until we have a better understanding of this situation. Lin Wenlan said solemnly. In every family, geniuses were protected. Before they grew to a certain level, it was best not to let others know about them. Otherwise, there would be many ways to kill them before they matured. What's more, Di Beichen had just returned to the clan. After the news spread out, he had become a figure in the limelight. It was not known how many people wanted to see him. If others knew about his innate gift, he would definitely be targeted. Beichen, tell Hong Zhuang to take note of this as well. Di Lin Xian instructed. I will. Yes, Di Beichen responded. Bailey Hongzhuang was supposed to come along today. However, as Lin Yinqing's body was still recuperating, she had been accompanying Lin Yinqing whenever she was free. Lin Yinqing's fondness for Bailey Hongzhuang had been shown since the beginning. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang was accompanying her, Lin Yinqing's body was recovering rapidly. According to their estimation, she should be able to make a full recovery within a month. Regarding this point, Dr. Wu was extremely shocked. If someone had told him that the hidden injuries that Lin Yinqing had accumulated over the years could be healed within a month, he would have thought that the person was talking nonsense. However, now that everything had happened in front of him, he was speechless. Now, he was completely impressed by Bailey Hongzhuang's medical skills. Not many people could compare to her medical skills. In the past, it was others who addressed him respectfully as Great Master. Now, he was the one who addressed Bailey Hongzhuang as Great Master. When Di Beichen came to find Bailey Hongzhuang, he saw Dr. Wu following behind Bailey Hongzhuang with a serious face, listening to her medical opinions. Second young master, you're here. Di Beichen nodded slightly. Dr. Wu then looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and said, Second young madam, how about you continue to explain tomorrow when you have time? His respectful expression clearly showed that he treated Bailey Hongzhuang as his master. He was afraid that if Bailey Hongzhuang refused, he would not be able to learn more. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly and took out Ling Er's cultivation method. There's no need to look at it. Cultivate mine. Ling Er looked determined. Although the cultivation method you took out is not bad, and I think it's already very outstanding in the upper realm, you have to believe me. The cultivation method I took out is definitely the best. Chapter 46-29. Seeing Ling Er's confident expression, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen looked at each other and decided to believe in Ling Er. Ling Er's memories were indeed rather blurry, but her knowledge was definitely not something an ordinary person could compare to. Furthermore, Ling Er was originally a light attribute demon beast, and her performance in the light attribute was also very outstanding. Furthermore, to be able to seal her memories, one could see how powerful her master was. With such a powerful master, it wasn't strange that the cultivation technique he gave Ling Er was a top-notch inheritance. In that case, let's cultivate Ling Er's method. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. After deciding on the method, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen began cultivating. At the same time, Wen Xiren and the others were also cultivating. At night, they would head to the forest world to cultivate together. The time difference inside was of great help to them. During this process, everyone's speed of improvement was extremely fast. Bailey Hongzhuang was originally only at the 7th rank of the Astral Radiance realm, but now she had broken through to the Starlight realm. Not only her, but everyone's improvement was also very fast. This was also due to the huge contribution of the cultivation room. On this day, Di Beichen received a servant's notice that Di Yujue had called him to the front. Father suddenly called me over. Is something the matter? Second young master, I heard that people from the Shao clan have come. The patriarch and the others have already gone to welcome them. Shao clan. Di Beichen was slightly stunned, the Shao clan that has a lot of light attribute cultivators. That's right, it's them. The Shao clan has always had a close relationship with us. They must have heard the news of second young master's return and specially came to congratulate you. Hearing this, Di Beichen finally understood. In fact, he didn't have a good impression of the Shao family before. Because of Shao Rojin, he only felt that this family was not very tolerant. He didn't expect that they were so close to the Di family. Xiao Shou had been in a bad mood recently. The second young master of the Di clan had disappeared for many years. She didn't expect him to suddenly return. According to her father's thoughts, it was obvious that he wanted her to be with the second young master of the Di family. The other party was a cultivator who had just come from the lower realm. His cultivation was incomparable to theirs. Moreover, she was about to become the saint of the light. If she were to marry such a man, even if he was the successor of the Di family, she would still become a laughing stock in the eyes of others. Over the years, the number of people who pursued her could already form a few streets, but her father insisted on abiding by the old rules of the family. She was really speechless. Just as Di Beichen was heading towards the meeting hall, he suddenly noticed an unfamiliar woman standing not far away. A trace of surprise appeared between his eyebrows. He then slowly walked over. Miss, you don't seem to be a member of the Di family. What are you doing here? Di Beichen frowned and asked. He had been staying in the family recently. Basically, he was already familiar with all the faces of the family members. It was obvious that he had never seen this woman before. Xiao Shou suddenly heard the gentle and magnetic voice of a man. She couldn't help but frown. She was in a very bad mood and didn't plan on paying attention to anyone who tried to strike a conversation with her. Usually, there were many people who tried to strike a conversation with her. She was in a bad mood and couldn't be bothered to pay attention to them. However, when she turned her head, she saw a face as handsome as a god. Her breathing stopped, and she actually forgot to speak. Chapter 46:30. Seeing the woman in front of him looking at him in a daze, Di Beichen couldn't help but frown. Is this person not the cousin mentioned by Xiaofeng? Yesterday, he heard from his elder brother that his cousin might arrive at the Di family in 2 days, so he specially wanted to see his cousin. Not only that, but from his mother's words, he also learned that this cousin seemed to like his elder brother very much. In the eyes of the elders, she was most favored to be with his elder brother. However, he knew very well that his elder brother's sweetheart was Bailey Yunyan, so this cousin's thoughts would probably fall through. The girl in front of him was alone here, looking unscrupulous. He couldn't think of any other possibility except that she was his cousin. If not, he wouldn't take the initiative to come forward to say hello because his elder brother told him to tell his cousin that his elder brother had started a retreat and would not come out in a short time. Hey, you must be my second cousin. Just as Di Beichen was thinking, suddenly, a lively and pleasant voice sounded behind him. Di Beichen turned his head and saw a playful woman in a purple dress coming over. Her delicate face was filled with a joyful smile. Although it's the first time I see you, I can guess it when I see your appearance. You are Cousin Yi. Lin Yi smiled and nodded. She raised her chest proudly and said, yes, it's me. Second cousin, where did big cousin go? I just went to his residence to look for him, but I didn't see him. Lin Yi looked distressed. Every time she came, big cousin would always think of ways to hide from her. It was precisely because of this that she knew that it was useless to wait obediently. She could only launch a surprise attack so that she could catch big cousin and prevent him from escaping. Listening to Lin Yi's words, Di Beichen sighed in his heart. My elder brother is right. Cousin Yi will look for him everywhere when she appears. Cousin, elder brother started a retreat yesterday. I'm afraid he won't come out for a while. However, Lin Yi snorted, I don't believe in this. Every time I come, big cousin says that he is in close cultivation. How can it be so coincidental every time? In the next second, Lin Yi went directly to Di Beichen's side. She held his arm with both hands, blinked her eyes, and said pitifully, second cousin, this is the first time we have met after so many years. You can't not help me, cousin, it's not that I don't want to help you, but big brother did go into seclusion yesterday. However, you don't have to be in a hurry to leave for a while. You can stay here for a while and accompany mother. Di Beichen's lips curled into a faint smile. His mother really liked this mischievous cousin of his. Today, he also felt that his cousin was very likable. Although she seemed to be a little mischievous, she wouldn't be arrogant just because she was pampered. It was just that everyone in the family doted on her. Hearing this, Lin Yi's eyes lit up, second cousin is right. Then I will stay here for a while and accompany aunt. Di Beichen nodded, and his gaze fell on Xiao Sou again, since you are not my cousin, then what are you doing here? The sudden question made Xiao Sou slightly stunned. Before she could answer, Di Beichen's voice sounded again, branch descendants don't walk around here. Leave quickly. Chapter 46:31. Looking at Di Beichen's departing figure, Xiao Sou finally understood that the reason why the man had spoken to her earlier was because he had mistaken her for his cousin. Now that he knew she wasn't his cousin, he actually left without even looking at her. That look. It was as if he was dissatisfied with her running around everywhere. She, Xiao Sou, was still a great beauty, all right. Who knew how many men were chasing after her on a daily basis? Even if he didn't know her strength and identity, he shouldn't be too lazy to care about her and leave, right? Thinking of this, Xiao Shou felt a wave of gloominess, but she was also a little surprised. If it had been any other time, she would have already been angry if someone had spoken to her in such a manner. However, even after the man had left, she hadn't refuted a single word. Immediately after, Xiao Shou didn't continue to stay in the same spot. She wanted to find out who this man was. Di Yujue had immediately rushed over after hearing that the Shao clan had arrived. As expected, he saw the Shao clan's patriarch, Xiao Yanlong, as soon as he arrived. "Brother Yanlong, you've come." Di Yujue's face was filled with a warm smile as he cupped his hands. Xiao Yanlong also cupped his hands, his face full of smiles. "Brother Yujue, I heard that the second young master has been found, so I specially came to congratulate you." "Thank you, Brother Yanlong. Please come in." Di Yujue extended his left hand, inviting Xiao Yanlong to sit in the guest hall. Compared to the smile on his face, there was a trace of profoundness in his eyes. If it had been any other time, he would have been very happy when the Shao clan had come. However, he could guess the purpose of the Shao clan's visit at this moment. "Brother Yanlong, are you the only one who's come today?" Xiao Yanlong waved his hand. "I've come with my daughter today. You know the old rules of the Shao clan and the Di clan. Previously, the second young master had always been away, so I didn't officially tell my daughter about this matter. Now that the second young master has returned, I've brought her over to take a look. It's just that my daughter has been spoiled by me all these years. After coming here, she went to wander around. I hope Brother Yujue doesn't take offense." Hearing this, Di Yujue smiled and waved his hand. "Our two families are so close, there's no need to stand on ceremony. I've long heard that Miss So is extremely talented and beautiful. Over the years, there are countless pursuers. Although Beichen has returned, he has been wandering outside all these years. There is still a gap between his cultivation and the outstanding children of aristocratic families." As he spoke, Di Yujue observed Xiao Yanlong's reaction. Di Beichen was already married. From the way he doted on Bailey Hongzhuang, it was impossible for him to marry another woman. Thus, he hoped that the Shao clan would be dissatisfied with this marriage. In that way, the problem would be easily solved. All these years, their relationship with the Shao clan had always been good. If possible, he didn't want to break off their relationship with the Shao clan because of this. After Xiao Yanlong arrived, his thoughts had been rather complicated. At this moment, after hearing Di Yujue's words, he quietly heaved a sigh of relief. "Brother Yujue, to tell you the truth, my daughter has indeed been spoiled by me. Now that she's not young anymore, the family has already planned to find a marriage for her. However, she's too arrogant and picky." Chapter 46-32. Xiao Yanlong was also very helpless in his heart. When Di Beichen was born, he was very much in favor of this marriage. After all, the marriage between the Shao family and the Di family was undoubtedly a strong alliance, not to mention that Di Beichen had a cursed body. If other people had a cursed body, it might be very troublesome, but in the Di family, this cursed body was not a problem at all. The cursed body was the heavenly mandate body. From the moment they knew that Di Beichen would definitely be a genius. It was just that the situation later was something that no one expected. Di Beichen actually disappeared. For more than 20 years, although no one said it, he had long believed that Di Beichen would not come back. At the same time, he was looking for a husband for Seoul. He did not expect that Di Beichen would suddenly appear at this time. He had never seen Di Beichen, but Di Beichen had been in the lower realm all these years. He did not need to think to know that he could not be compared with those young talents. Even if Di Baichen had now transformed into a heavenly mandate body, it would not be a simple matter for him to catch up with the young talents of the same generation. What's more, without the nurturing of the Di family, this guy might just be a dandy. Because of these possibilities, and because of the friendship between the Xiao family and the Di family, he had no choice but to first bring Xiao Sou to visit them. He only hoped that this marriage could be resolved peacefully, and that the Di family could understand their approach. After all, Sou had been an extremely outstanding figure among the younger generation these years, and she would soon become the Holy Maiden of Light. Just this identity alone was not something that ordinary people could match up to. He must find the most suitable husband for Sou. If it was any other time, Di Yujue would be very unhappy when he heard Xiao Yanlong's words, because the other party's meaning was very obvious. He looked down on his son. However, Di Yujue now only felt that these words were like the sound of nature, solving the problem that had been troubling him for a long time. He had been thinking about how to break off the engagement without affecting the relationship between the two sides. He did not expect Xiao Yanlong to have the same intention. That would be great. Brother Yanlong is right. Young people have their own way of thinking. As parents, we only want our children to be happy. Naturally, we don't want them to do things they don't want to do. Di Yujue said with a smile. Originally, Xiao Yanlong was a little worried that Di Yujue would be unhappy because of this. After all, Di Baichen had just returned, and Di Yujue would definitely like this son very much. He did not expect that after he said such words, Di Yujue would not be dissatisfied at all. Instead, he agreed very much, which made him feel a little strange. Nevertheless, he heaved a sigh of relief when he thought that he had achieved his goal. The two of them, who were originally a little worried, breathed a sigh of relief after understanding each other's thoughts. Even their conversation became much smoother. It didn't take long for Di Baichen and Lin Yi to arrive at the reception room. Baichen, come and meet your Uncle Xiao. Seeing Di Baichen arrive, Di Yujue smiled and waved. Uncle Xiao. Di Baichen saluted. Xiao Yanlong's eyes also lit up the moment he saw Di Baichen. The Di family's genes had always been outstanding. This could be seen from Di Xiaofeng. He just didn't expect this Di Baichen to not lose to Di Xiaofeng at all. Not only his appearance, but even his temperament was not weak. Chapter 46-33. You are here too. Seeing Lin Yi, the smile in Di Yujue's eyes softened a little. He also liked this quirky little girl very much. Uncle. Lin Yi came forward with a smile and saluted Xiao Yanlong, Uncle Xiao. Xiao Yanlong smiled and nodded. This is the little girl of the Lin family, right? Yes. Second young master is really impressive and has an extraordinary temperament. He is definitely not an ordinary person. Xiao Yanlong praised. After deciding to cancel the marriage, Xiao Yanlong was not as worried as before. His praise at this moment was sincere. In all fairness, Di Baichen had stayed in the lower realm for so many years. It was already very good that he could grow to this point. If there had been no accident back then, Di Baichen would have been a well-known figure among the younger generation under the cultivation of the Di family. He would have been a perfect match with Sou, but it was a pity. Brother Yanlong is overpraising. Di Baichen has just returned, and there are still many shortcomings. Unlike Miss Sou, who is young and already famous. Once she takes over the position of the Holy Maiden, she will be extraordinary in the future. You're too kind. Xiao Yanlong touched the beard on his chin. Although he was modest, the pride on his face was already overflowing. He was indeed very satisfied with his daughter. Father. At this moment, a clear and cold voice sounded. Then, a beautiful yellow figure appeared before everyone's eyes. Looking at this familiar figure, Lin Yi was slightly stunned. She stared at Di Beichen beside her with her big round eyes and said, "No way. This woman is Xiao So of the Xiao family." When knowing the identity of this woman, Di Beichen was also a little surprised, but his gaze only fell on her for a moment and then moved away. He didn't care who the other party was. What's more, this woman came to the Di family for the first time. Instead of staying in the living room, she ran around. She was either arrogant or unruly. Either way, it was clear that they did not respect the Di family enough. "Say Wu, you are here." Xiao Yanlong's face showed a happy smile, and then said, "This is my daughter, Say Wu. Miss So is indeed the same as the rumors." "You are a dragon among men," Di Yujue said with a smile. Xiao Yanlong smiled and said, "So, this is the second young master of the Di family, Di Beichen. Beside him is the young lady of the Lin family, Lin Yi. Since you are all of the same generation, I'm afraid that you will often meet each other in the future. It's good to make friends." As soon as Xiao So walked in, she had already noticed Di Beichen. He was like a blazing sun that attracted everyone's attention. It was impossible to ignore him. However, she did not expect this person to be the second son of the Di family, Di Beichen. Many people were curious about this second young master before, but according to everyone's judgment, this second young master was most likely a good-for-nothing. But the man in front of her was neither servile nor overbearing. He was neither arrogant nor impetuous. He was calm and outstanding, which was far from everyone's guess. The most important thing was that looking at the man opposite her, she actually had a feeling of being moved. For so many years, there were countless young talents who had expressed their goodwill to her, but she had never paid attention to them. The strength of the man in front of her was obviously not as good as her. He ignored her and even scolded her, but she could not feel any disgust. On the contrary, she was very happy to see him. Chapter 46-34. According to her mother, when you meet a person who can make you completely different from your usual self, it means that you have fallen in love with him. Although she had always scoffed at her mother's statement, she suddenly believed it after meeting Di Beichen. She didn't think it could be called love when they met for the first time, but she felt that she might have fallen in love with him at first sight. "Hello, I am Xiao So." Xiao So took a step forward with a bright smile on her delicate and outstanding face. She greeted Di Beichen graciously. Her bright eyes shone like stars without any flicker or flinching. Xiao So had never flinched. Since she might like this man, then she would like him. As long as Xiao So likes him, so what if Di Beichen is not strong enough? Whoever dares to laugh at him, then I will beat the other party until he can't speak. "Hello, Di Beichen. I am Lin Yi. I have long heard that the Xiao family's eldest miss has amazing light attribute talent. She is about to become the Holy Maiden of Light. She is really an amazing person." Lin Yi smiled. Although it was her first time meeting Xiao So, she had heard of her reputation for a long time. The future Holy Maiden of Light had an extraordinary identity. With a Holy Maiden of Light in the Xiao family, their status would be greatly improved in the future. Although she didn't feel anything, it was not bad to make friends. Anyway, she wouldn't lose a piece of meat if she echoed. Listening to Lin Yi's words, the pride on Xiao So's face was even greater. She was the most outstanding light attribute cultivator in recent years. Although it did not reach 100%, it had reached 98%. Now the Holy Maiden of Light was trying to improve her talent to 99%. Once it reached, she could be qualified as the Holy Maiden of Light. At that time, her status would be higher than it was now. Miss Lin is overpraising. At this time, Xiao Yanlong said, "Brother Yujue, since we have reached a consensus before, then the marriage between the two juniors should be cancelled. When we need to join forces in the future, we will still join forces." This matter will not affect the friendship between the two sides. How about it? While talking, Xiao Yanlong also looked at Di Beichen. Second young master, you are a dragon among men. We definitely don't mean to look down on you. What happened back then was just an agreement between us elders. As you grow up, I think that young people have their own ideas. After all, the young people are different from our older generation. They all have their own decisions. After Di Beichen heard Xiao Yanlong's words, he couldn't help but be slightly stunned. What was the other party saying? Why didn't he understand? On the side, Lin Yi's face changed after hearing all this. She whispered, "Second cousin, don't tell me you don't know about it." "What should I know?" Di Beichen's brows wrinkled slightly. No one had ever told him about this matter. Only now did he understand why he was called over and not his elder brother. It turned out that there was such a relationship between him and the eldest daughter of the Xiao clan. However, the other party wanted to make a move on his wife. He was already disgusted. If it weren't for the friendship between the two families, he wouldn't even be willing to come here. Now she said that there was an engagement between them. What a joke. Fortunately, the other party refused. He only felt relieved. It's great. Chapter 46-35. It can't be, right? Second cousin, you don't even know about such an important thing. Lin Yi was speechless for a while. The other party made it clear that they came here specifically to break off the engagement, but second cousin, don't take it to heart. This Xiao Sou is very famous. Many people who pursue her are rejected. What's more, you are already married. In my opinion, it's good that you broke off your relationship with her. Otherwise, there will be trouble in the future. Many people may challenge you. Lin Yi comforted Di Beichen. The other party came and broke off the engagement directly. Presumably, no one would be able to accept it. However, Di Beichen's words made her stunned. It's good that they proposed it. Otherwise, if we proposed it, I am afraid it will make things difficult for father. In Di Beichen's heart, Bailey Hongzhuang was the best. All the women in the world added up were not as good as Hongzhuang. If the other party abided by the previous engagement, it would make things difficult for them. Now, it was better. Ahem. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Lin Yi almost choked on her own saliva. Isn't this second cousin too arrogant? Looking at his appearance, it seems that even if Xiao Sou is willing to marry him, he will refuse. That is Xiao Sou, God's favored daughter. Although she was not interested in the other party, isn't your reaction a bit too arrogant, second cousin? However, Di Beichen still looked indifferent, which made Lin Yi suddenly understand that her cousin did not deliberately say this for her face, but he thought so from the bottom of his heart. This second cousin is also a badass. But I like it, haha. Xiao Sou was slightly stunned when she heard her father say such words. Only then did she remember the purpose of their trip. Previously, her father hoped that she could try to be with Di Beichen, but she had been throwing a tantrum on the way here. She threatened to run away from home if she was forced to be with Di Beichen. I didn't expect that my father had changed his mind when I just wandered around. Wasn't this change a little too fast? In fact, Xiao Sou did not know that Xiao Yanlong had always been thinking about it in his heart. Moreover, Xiao Sou had always been his most beloved daughter. Seeing that his daughter was unwilling, he naturally did not want to force her. After some probing, he found that Di Yujue also agreed with his idea. Naturally, he quickly finalized this point. In this way, the daughter was happy, and the relationship between the families was not affected. Di Yujue smiled and nodded, Brother Yanlong is right. Let's let bygones be bygones. Di Beichen also said, I agree. Xiao Sou's expression suddenly became a little strange. Her father had already said this, what should she do? However, when she heard Di Beichen agree, her expression turned even uglier. Do you agree? What do you have to agree with? Could it be that I, a proud daughter of the heavens, am not worthy of you? Looking at Di Beichen's calm face, without the slightest trace of regret, her heart was also depressed. Is he not moved by me at all? For so long, Xiao Sou had always been very confident in her charm. She did not expect that the only man who moved her was not interested in her. The depression in her heart could be imagined. Huh, that's great. The smile on Xiao Yanlong's face became brighter. He turned his head to look at his baby daughter, waiting to see his daughter's happy expression. Chapter 46-36. However, when he turned his head, he found that his daughter was looking at him with displeasure. He couldn't help but be stunned. What's going on? Could it be that I didn't do well enough? But, there was obviously no problem. Xiao Yanlong was also a little confused, but he really couldn't understand what was going on. It wasn't until Xiao Sou sent him a sound transmission that he understood. Father, in fact, this Di Beichen is not as bad as I thought before. Xiao Sou was now about to die of depression. She thought that even if Xiao Yanlong wanted to bring up the matter of breaking off the engagement, it would be impossible to bring it up so quickly. What's more, the head of the Di family would not agree so easily. Who would have thought that today's situation would be so smooth? In the blink of an eye, everything was completed. However, thinking that it was not easy for her to meet such a person who made her feel different, she didn't want to lose contact with him just like that. Therefore, under these complicated emotions, Xiao Sou still sent her thoughts to Xiao Yanlong. Listening to Xiao Sou's words, Xiao Yanlong was also slightly stunned. A trace of surprise flashed in his eyes, but he quickly concealed it. What's wrong with my daughter? I've only been out for a short time. Why has her attitude become completely different? Although these words were not so straightforward, as Xiao Sou's father, he knew his daughter's character very well. Just these words alone showed that Di Beichen was very special to her. His gaze quietly fell on Di Beichen, and he sighed in his heart. This Di Beichen was really a talent. Although there were many people who pursued his daughter over the years, in terms of appearance and bearing, there was really no one who could be compared with Di Beichen. No wonder his daughter changed her mind. After all, she was a young woman. It was normal for her to like handsome men. So, you have to think carefully. I have now decided to break off the engagement. If you want to go back on your words, then you can't change your mind. Xiao Yanlong couldn't help but remind her. This kind of thing couldn't be taken lightly. The fact that the other party didn't mind at all when she suggested to annul the engagement was already an act of magnanimity on his part. If they were to raise any other ideas now, it would actually be embarrassing themselves. However, according to his estimation, Di Yujue would definitely not refuse. However, if they were to go back on their words, it would be disregarding the friendship between the two sides. If they were at home, his daughter could do whatever she wanted, but it was different now. Although this Di Beichen has a dignified appearance, you know that he came from the lower realm, so his cultivation is definitely much lower than yours. What's more, we've only just arrived and don't know much about him. You can't make a rash decision. Hearing Di Beichen's words, Xiao Sou stared fixedly at Di Beichen. She couldn't help but recall the other party's indifferent attitude towards her. Suddenly, she felt that such a person couldn't possibly be a hedonistic son of a rich family. One had to know that there weren't many young men who could overlook her beauty. Father, don't worry. I understand the importance of this matter. Seeing this, Xiao Yanlong was even more surprised. Could it be that his daughter fell in love with this Di Baichen at first sight? She clearly had so many high requirements before, but after seeing Di Baichen, she didn't care about any of them. In that case, I'll mention this matter to your uncle later. Chapter 46-37. Xiao Shou was a girl. If people knew that it was her own idea, she would undoubtedly be looked down upon. On the contrary, he would talk to Di Yujue in private later. He could take this matter on himself. He just thought that Di Baichen was not bad and hoped that they could develop. Hearing Xiao Yanlong's words, Xiao Shou was also delighted. Thank you, father. Second cousin, why do I feel that Xiao Shou and Uncle Xiao are communicating with each other through voice transmission? Lin Yi had been paying attention to Xiao Shou. She found that the details of communication between Xiao Shou and Xiao Yanlong were revealed. Di Baichen looked calm and indifferent. It is normal for father and daughter to communicate. I heard from others that this Xiao Shou has always been arrogant as a proud girl, but I think her expression when she looks at you is different. Not only that, when she heard that the engagement between you two was cancelled, she was stunned. Now she is communicating with Uncle Xiao. Lin Yi frowned. She tapped her chin with her index finger and looked at the handsome Di Baichen next to her. Her eyes suddenly lit up and said, Second cousin, do you think this Xiao Shou will take a fancy to you? You are so handsome. There are definitely many young women who fall for your charm. Maybe this Xiao Shou is one of them. Since Xiao Shou is a proud girl, there must be many pursuers. How can she be so superficial? Di Baichen shook his head. That's not necessarily true. Lin Yi said seriously, a woman's intuition is very accurate. I have this intuition, but second cousin, you are already married. I don't think Xiao Shou will do that. Little girl, why are there so many messy thoughts in your little head? Di Baichen looked at the mischievous Lin Yi. He suddenly felt that the scene of this girl and his elder brother together should be very interesting. Second cousin, you are really eldest cousin's younger brother. Even your words are so similar. Lin Yi puffed up her cheeks. You are not much older than me. How am I young? It's not small, it's not small. Di Baichen was helpless. He just wanted to pick up Hong Zhuang after he finished. Every day at this time, he would punctually go to his mother's courtyard to pick up Hong Zhuang. Today was undoubtedly a little late. After Xiao Yanlong and Di Yujue talked for a while, they proposed to let the juniors go out. Since Xiao Shou had changed her mind, he had to tell this idea to Di Yujue as soon as possible. Otherwise, once Di Yujue spread the news, it would be impossible to change it at that time. Hearing this, Di Yujue nodded and smiled. Yes, in that case, Baichen, you take Shou around. Yes. The three of them walked out of the living room. Xiao Shou walked beside Di Baichen with a faint smile on her delicate and gorgeous face. Young Master Di, I heard that you just came back from the underworld. Are you used to it? I'm quite used to it. Di Baichen responded faintly, seemingly perfunctory. Seeing this, Xiao Shou frowned slightly. Is this Di Baichen deliberately pretending to be indifferent to attract my attention or what? I don't know, where are you going to take me to visit? Xiao Shou asked again. Hearing this, Di Baichen looked at Lin Yi on the side and said, you are also familiar with the Di family. You take Miss Xiao around. I will leave first. You're tuning into the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.